Good morning, I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for streaming with us. In today's update, Senate Republicans are expected to block a bill today that would form a bipartisan commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell announced his opposition last week, calling the bill a, quote, purely political exercise. Democrats say the bill's critics are just trying to please former President Trump, who was impeached for inciting the mob that stormed the Capitol. The mother of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who suffered 2 fatal strokes a day after the attack, is meeting with several Republican senators to push them to support the commission. New research is painting a clearer picture of how long protection against COVID could last. 2 new studies suggest people who recover from the virus have some immunity long after antibodies faded, even a year later. Nearly 60% of Americans have gotten at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, but the 7-day average of doses administered in the U.S. has dropped by nearly 50% in the last 6 weeks. Now states and companies are going all out to incentivize more vaccinations, offering everything from lottery tickets to a seat at the Super Bowl. And get ready for a very busy travel weekend. More than 37 million Americans are expected to hit the road or take to the skies for Memorial Day weekend. That's up 60% from last year. And ABC News is now learning air traffic controllers in the Florida region are handling more flights than they did in 2019, before the pandemic. And we're learning more about that deadly mass shooting and the 9 victims killed at a transportation facility in San Jose, California. Authorities say the gunman who worked at the facility used 2 pistols and had 11 magazines of ammunition, and that he took his own life when confronted by police. New surveillance video shows the suspect leaving his house for the last time moments before it erupted into flames. Now investigators are looking for a motive, as we're hearing more from the witnesses and their loved ones. ABC's Kaylee Hartung joins me live from that VTA facility in San Jose with the latest. Kaylee, we're hearing from one of the witnesses who was in the building when that shooting started. What did he have to say?
Yeah, well, Diane, we've heard officials here praise the quick response of law enforcement here, saying that they saved lives. But this morning, we're starting to hear about the traumatic experiences of the victims, of the employees here who survived this mass shooting. Kirk Bertolet is one of them. He's a longtime employee here at the Transportation Authority. He described his experience yesterday morning.
I just felt so helpless, so utterly hopeless to be there while this was going on and not being able to do anything. And it tore me up. It's gonna change my life forever. It was just, I had a mission to do. I had to go see if I could help anybody, save anybody, or do anything. And then when the realization that everybody was gone, it was just walk away.
So you hear that experience, Diane. This was absolutely traumatic for people just like Kirk Bertolet. Kirk Bertolet being someone who knew the shooter. And he says he believes that this rampage was targeted, because he says he knows that this shooter was shooting one person and passing up another. That process of seeing him move through 2 buildings in this massive complex behind me led Kirk Bertolet to believe that this gunman was targeting his victims.
And Kaylee, what do we know about those victims so far?
And we're learning more details about really the hard stuff.
Diane, 9 men who were all employees here of the Transportation Authority. They range in age from 29 to 63. We're still trying to learn more about who these men were and what their relationship was to the shooter. But more of what we learned from Kirk Bertolet was that this was a workplace, this was an environment where he says some coworkers could be brutal to each other. Government employees here who he says could be frustrated by the responsibilities and tasks they would have to take on day to day. But I think as we learn more about who these individuals were and what their relationship was to the shooter, if this was in fact a targeted attack in the way that this one employee believes it was, this picture will become much clearer of what led the shooter to snap.
And so, Kaylee, what more have you heard from officials there in terms of the status of the investigation?
Yeah, Diane, this is an active crime scene. Today, we will have ATF and FBI and local agencies on the scene here as they say they are going to comb through every crevice of this incredibly large facility looking for clues. Yesterday, the focus was on the bomb squad, really doing the most detailed work they could after a K-9 team detected what they believed were explosive components, not so much explosive devices assembled, but the components you need to put a device together in the suspect's locker here at the facility. So now it's the process of looking for clues. Again, this suspect was in an area of this facility that was secure. So he moved through one building into another, covered a lot of ground in a very short amount of time. As we've said so many times, the quick response of law enforcement here really saved lives because they were running from their offices just across the street here into this active shooter situation. And as officials have said, this could have been much worse.
And Kaylee, we
Diane.
also know while this was all happening, there was also a fire happening at the suspect's home. So in a way, authorities were diverted there to respond to both of those scenes. So what's happening with the investigation at his house right now?
Yeah, there was so much for authorities here to juggle yesterday morning, to the point that at first it wasn't clear that these two incidents were related in any way. But now the working theory that we're hearing from authorities here, Diane, is that perhaps the suspect had a device of some sort to set that house on fire after he'd left to coordinate it with the shooting. Because what's interesting to hear is that the 911 calls that came in for the shooting here came in at 6:34. And then the first 911 calls for the house fire weren't until 6:37. And it's about 10 miles from the shooter's house to this facility. All of this transpiring in a matter of minutes, both of those calls coming in as well as law enforcement's quick response. They tell me it was a matter of just minutes between that first 911 call coming in and then authorities arriving on the scene, coming in contact with the suspect. No gunfire exchange between them because as soon as the suspect realized law enforcement was there, he turned the gun on himself. So as for that investigation at the suspect's house, again, it's another opportunity to look for clues, to look for evidence, to try to understand why this happened. The sheriff this morning telling me they haven't found any sort of a manifesto or any letter that was left behind to help explain why, but they are looking to every detail to try to understand better. Diane.
All right, Kaylee Hartung in San Jose, thank you. And the Department of Homeland Security is now ordering pipeline companies to report cyber attacks within 12 hours. This comes after a ransomware attack shut down the Colonial Pipeline for days. Experts say ransomware attacks like that one are becoming more frequent, and organizations that operate quote-unquote legacy technologies are more vulnerable. ABC's Alex Perche has more.
Certainly you've seen the headlines.
We begin tonight with the growing concern across this country after that massive cyber attack.
The effects of the Russia-based ransomware attack are being felt up and down the East Coast.
We are learning the company paid the hackers millions in ransom.
Colonial Pipeline, the victim of a devastating ransomware attack. Its effects passed down to the consumer through gas shortages and panic buying. But how did we get here? First, you have to understand what ransomware is. Sean Henry is the chief security officer at CrowdStrike. He also spent more than 2 decades working at the FBI.
Ransomware is the deployment of malware, malicious software, into a corporate environment that encrypts all of the data.
Hackers will then only decrypt that data if the original owner pays up, often through cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin.
It's a digital ransom.
It's exactly what it is. It's not very different from kidnappings and extortions.
It's also encouraged these hackers to focus on critical infrastructure. Think healthcare. Dr. Mark Memo's urology practice in Northeast Ohio got hit in 2019. He says the hackers wanted $24,000 in Bitcoin.
We said we would be willing to, pay them if they could prove that they could unencrypt the data.
His IT firm paid the ransom, but Memo estimates the ordeal still cost his practice about $150,000 in back bills, lost business, and rebuilding security. It also impacted his patients.
And we had patients that were in the middle of cancer treatments that we had to delay because we couldn't verify the data, we couldn't verify the medications they needed.
According to the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, there are 3 common ways these ransomware attacks happen. Phishing campaigns like emails with malware and a suspicious link. Remote desktop protocol vulnerabilities, where hackers gain access to a computer or network over the internet. And software vulnerabilities, where hackers use security weaknesses in widely used software to access people's data. Many of these attacks come from organized crime groups that operate out of Russia, as well as North Korea, China, and Iran.
The U.S. government can only use law enforcement actions in a foreign country with the collaboration of the host government.
Ransomware attacks first got on the radar of many in 2017. The WannaCry worm is estimated to have infected more than 200,000 people around the world, victims often paying between $300 and $600 in Bitcoin to unlock their data. But since then, these attacks have increased and evolved. A report by the Center for Strategic and International Studies and McAfee estimated the worldwide cost of cybercrime at almost $1 trillion between 2018 and 2020.
Unfortunately, those payments encourage these organized crime groups to continue.
The FBI warns against paying these ransoms, and just this fall, the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control tried to crack down on them too, especially ransoms to sanctioned hackers. It issued an advisory to companies that engage with ransomware attack victims of the potential sanctions they could face for facilitating ransomware payouts.
They'd rather deal with the government saying they did something wrong than deal with an organized crime group who has just ended the existence of their company.
Cities have also fallen victim, including New Orleans. It got hit with a ransomware attack in December of 2019. A city employee opened the wrong email at work. A phishing attack.
It's devastating.
Kimberly LeGroux is the city's chief information officer. The city opted to rebuild its system instead of pay up. LeGroux says New Orleans spent about $1.5 million recovering that data from old hard copy records and another $5.2 million rehabbing their digital infrastructure.
This is almost like hurricane. You get prepared because you see the bad weather coming.
Experts say updating computer security infrastructure is critical. Many organizations that operate on legacy technologies are vulnerable. Some elected officials have advocated legislation requiring companies to share information with the government when an attack happens. But ultimately, experts say companies will have to reevaluate how they operate.
Companies have relied on the government to stop these attacks. Companies are responsible for protecting themselves against nation states, against organized crime groups, which is very different from what we see in the physical world.
Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
All right, thanks to Alex for that report. And Memorial Day is right around the corner, which means the sales have already started. But shipping delays are complicating online shopping. When we come back, what you need to know and where to find the best deals right now. Welcome back. Retailers are offering some major sales and enticing savings this Memorial Day weekend, but shortages and shipping delays are complicating online shopping. ABC's Becky Worley has more.
Holiday savings events provide some of the best savings opportunities we have in the current economy, especially as retailers transition inventory between seasons.
So with Memorial Day sales, retailers are really going to be emphasizing their items for warmer weather. So that's everything from outdoor home items for the patio, that's warm weather clothing.
Clothing like J. Crew discounting shorts and bathing suits with an additional 40% off all sale items. And then Old Navy and Eddie Bauer with 50% off everything. But clothing from the previous colder seasons offers big discounts now too. This popular Patagonia puffer jacket, $80 off at Nordstrom. The North Face has 30 to 40% off select items, and this REI vest, regularly $79, now $56. But for the biggest savings...
So anything big ticket home is going to be on sale.
This tilting umbrella from Bed Bath & Beyond is $36 off, and the company just announcing it now has a home delivery deal with DoorDash. Grills, they're another popular item discounted between 5 and 20% at retailers like Home Depot, Lowe's, and Ace Hardware. But
since they're in such high demand right now, it can be smart to wait till after 4th of July once grilling season is half over.
Now outdoor deals, they are plentiful. Just in time for Father's Day, this golfing rangefinder, $40 off at Dick's Sporting Goods, and this shade canopy, $30 off at Ace Hardware. But no matter what you buy, be aware of shipping delays. From product shortages to backlogs at FedEx, as reported in the Wall Street Journal, FedEx telling ABC News they continue to see a peak-like surge in package volume due to the explosive growth of e-commerce. Now, many people wonder if this is our last chance to get good deals for the summer. Well, the answer is kind of. If you need it now, Memorial Day presents a good time to save a little on many items, but we also have Amazon Prime Day coming up sometime this summer. The date has yet to be announced, so if you miss something now, you're going to get a second bite at the savings apple in June or July, Diane.
All right, love that. Becky Worley, thank you. And that does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for joining us. And remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for the breakdown. Have a great day.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.